What's going on, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a underrated movie series that I definitely think you guys should watch, especially since I just rewatched it recently. Obviously, as you can tell, I have a whole new setup here. Well, I was rearranging this whole game room just because I didn't like the original setup, and I changed it and I like it a lot better now. There's more stuff I need to get done, but that'll be for a later date, and honestly, maybe I'll make a video on it, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is while I was setting it up, I rewatched some older movies I've already seen. For example, the movie I'm talking about today is Escape Room. I've actually seen this a couple times, but I just did it again to like refresh my memory. Yo, I'll tell you right now, off the rip, and spoiler alerts ahead, by the way, Escape Room is actually a very underrated movie. Like, I actually was like curious. I went and looked at the reviews of it. There's two Escape Room movies. There's Escape Room 1, obviously, and then Escape Room Tournament of Champions. That's like essentially the second one. And honestly, I was curious. So I went and looked at the reviews on them. Escape Room actually only got a 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb and a 51% on Rotten Tomatoes, whereas Tournament of Champions, the second one, got a 5.7 on IMDb and a 52% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is kind of interesting to me. I honestly thought they were pretty decent. Like, I'm not saying they're the best horror franchise out there or horror movie series or whatever out there. However, it's just such a cool, different take. It's kind of like if you ever seen the movie Would You Rather. Like, it literally fits in that category where Would You Rather is obviously based on the drink game that you would normally do with adult beverages, and instead they put like a scary spin-off on it, like, oh, would you rather cut your arm or stick your head in a barrel for like 2 minutes? Stuff like that, right? Whereas Escape Room, obviously like the game we might have played in real life where we go to a place and we try to escape the room, they do that, except it's like a horror movie, obviously, so you might die in it. You might get cooked, quite literally. So I think it's like a very, very cool concept, and I was kind of interested to see how like IMDb thought the first one was better than Rotten Tomatoes and vice versa. I honestly think the first one's better than the second one because with these kind of movies, I feel like you get the gist off the rip on the first one. Like, it's a different plot, different concept, different style writing, all that kind of stuff. And obviously, like the second one, Tournament of Champions, it has a little bit of a different plot and stuff like that, but it's essentially the same concept. So the second one's not bad, don't get me wrong, but the first one I think is way better. But overall though, like, I think you guys should definitely go watch it. I mean, there's really not much to say about the plot other than that they realized at some point, especially in the first one, like, oh, this is real, like it's going to kill us type stuff. And most of the people die and whatever. And there's really not much to like talk about the plot. Like, that's the thing about these kind of horror movies. Like, I'm not saying they're cheesy or cheap or whatever, but they're not like Scream, or they're not like Friday the 13th, or they're not like Saw. They're not like Sinister or Paranormal Activity, where you could just like talk about the plot constantly and do this, do that. Some of the pros on it, like I said, it's a really cool concept, different style of movie, different writing, and honestly, like it has some like actors and actresses you might recognize in here, but then overall though, they use like a lot of new cast too, which is kind of cool. I feel like with these kind of movies, like if you use famous people that you feel like have no business being in there, but you do it for the publicity, you know what I mean? The con is though, you could tell it didn't have a super high budget. The con is that there's like some questions left unanswered, like what was the whole point of being in the escape room, this kind of thing. Like, they try to hit on that. They're like, oh well, each person in this escape room basically faced near-death experience in real life, so they end up here in this escape room, and now you're taking like the very few percentage to actually make it out and like not die from a plane crash, boat tipping over, like these are some of the examples, etc. And you're taking some of these very lucky people and sticking them in this room, seeing if they'll all escape together or who will die, and basically who will come out the sole luckiest person, right? So it's like taking even low percentage and even making it smaller. That's essentially the gist as to why they do it. But like, I feel like, and they kind of hit on about people watching it or whatever, but even in Tournament of Champions, it really doesn't answer, you know, who's really controlling the game. It really doesn't answer like it just like leaves questions unanswered, which is fine, but because I feel like you're going to get that with these kind of movies, right? Same with like Would You Rather. And I use that as a prime example because it's quite literally like, I feel like the most similar to it. But overall though, like Sleeky Rings, I'll give the first Escape Room, I'd probably give it honestly like a 7.5 out of 10, and I'll give the second one a 7 out of 10. Like, these are terrible films. Yes, again, they might be on the cheesier end. They're not your typical slasher. They're not a famous slasher like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, but they're pretty decent. I honestly would put this up there towards like Paranormal Activity level. Maybe I need to make a top 10 movie on horror genre, especially if we're getting close to Halloween. Maybe I'll do that. I've been watching a lot of like horror genre stuff recently, obviously because it's October now. Woohoo! But anyway, you go, woohoo! Yeah, baby! If you know, you know. But I just feel like the escape room is definitely like in the discussion, like at least it's better than some of the paranormal activities. Like the first paranormal activity was Saw, but then the rest. But anyway, I'm getting on a tangent here. Point is, you need to go watch the escape room if you haven't seen it yet. That's about it for this video, guys. Comment down below if you have any suggestions. Comment down below if you have seen it. If you liked it, disliked it, I want to hear about it. And make sure to hit that subscribe button to be notified about future videos. I'm out, guys. Peace.